Hey guys, Novastar here again, and this is the Novastar Saber Sessions 2. Basically, I'm answering a whole bunch of different questions that people have asked me regarding performances and saber groups and instruction and all this kind of thing. So if this doesn't interest you, feel free to click on the other videos and so on, because I understand how that goes. Anyhow, the next few subjects here, we have money, aka coin, or whatever you want to say. And that can be inhibitive or prohibitive of you doing X and Y and Z and so on and so on and so on. So how do we get around that? Well, let's just say you had $10,000 to do whatever you wanted. Or let's also say that simultaneously you have zero. You still want to be and need to be resourceful. In other words, don't spend $1,000 on a costume when you can spend $500. At the same time, you don't want to go overly cheap or ridiculous where something's going to fall apart or be useless to you. Like, in other words, if you're like, well, I could just get this saber for $50 instead of building it properly, or whatever the case, and then you end up saying, oh, well, it's just going to fall apart as soon as I use it, or there's some systemic problems with this that I'm going to have to keep going back to and fixing and repairing over and over and over. So there's all those kind of concerns going in. Some things can be done very inexpensively. I don't even know if that's a word. You can do things for, on the cheap, and it won't matter. I can't think of some great examples, but for example, maybe your costume doesn't need, if you're a Jedi, let's say, doesn't need to be the most epic materials and oh my gosh, I need 17 layers and it has to look exactly like the films and blah blah. Maybe you don't need that if you're going to go out and jump around and perform and do some fight work. Maybe your fight work's going to stand more on its own there. So keep that in mind. Granted, if you have to do something like the Vader kind of thing, which you guys have seen me do, my whatever I want to call it, my no Vader thing, or just the point is that I'm suiting up, I have to do some very unique things with that in order for me to even accomplish the objective. Since I'm a short gentleman, I don't it doesn't look right if I were to just stay at my normal height, so I have to do all these weird cheats. But even that's coming to be resourceful. My costume didn't cost me that much in comparison to many of the other Vaders that you would find out there. I am also just started doing more of a Kylo Ren style costume, and again, this is not super particularly ridiculous expensive, but again, nor am I attempting to do a absolutely have to be absolutely accurate to the film kind of thing, because I just don't have that opportunity. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the time in some cases to just keep researching and finding better parts and buy one and throw away another and this and put this aside and sell it off to Pearson and Barbara. I just have to get it done. And again, in some cases, it's all about fight work. So keep that in mind, that basically the money situation, it's revolving more around being resourceful and also suiting your needs. Sometimes you don't need the most epic costume. In fact, it can be a bad thing. Let's say you have an $8,000 costume. Do you really want to fight in that costume? Do you really want to roll around or, get accidentally thwacked by a saber? Whether it's even for like a kid coming up and being like, oh, Darth Vader. Whatever the case, you may not want to get whacked, because then you'll think, oh no, I put a big scratch on this $8,000 thing. And to be honest, I don't even have experience with that. I mean, I can imagine it, and that's one of the reasons why I would pretty much never go that route, even if the opportunity were to fall into my lap. If someone were to say, hey there, by the way, I'm coming from the heavens and I'm dropping into your lap this $9,000 costume or whatever it is, I probably wouldn't need it or use it. It would be too much logistics for me. Just the idea alone of if it got stolen, that I would be devastated, in the sense that how do you replace that? You have to have a lot of insurance to cover these things, and by the way, you should do that. That helps, having property insurance when things get misplaced, stolen, etc. And I'm kind of going on a sideline with that subject, but keep that in mind. Is you need to take care of your gear, your things, your people too. Your associates. You need to treat it all with a lot of respect, and that helps make your dollars go a long way. If you abuse one of your items, whether it's costume or a prop or a saber or a weapon or whatever, you may find you're going through all this stuff very quickly. Your boots, if you get kind of cruddy boots, by the way, it's another level of it. If you get, certain items you want to get that are very good quality, and they'll go further, as opposed to, so, if you, for example, just on this concept of boots, if I bought good leather boots, not necessarily have to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but, you make sure they're really leather and not vinyl or whatever. They're gonna last you several years, as opposed to if you bought some really awful boots and you didn't check the materials, you didn't really look at it, and then they crack right away and you're like, oh, I gotta get another pair, or you're constantly trying to repair them in some weird form. It can be a disaster, so you have to be very careful with it. Okay, so that was a long diatribe, about 5+ minutes to talk about the money thing, but you have to be resourceful. That's the best thing I can offer you, and learn as you go. Okay, I have a few minutes to talk about gimmicks versus real, is kind of what I put on my post-it here. But basically what that means is what happens when you see these saber groups coming out and going, okay, we're going to teach you how to do this cool, super flashy move. And those kind of videos keep popping up because people want popularity. They want to get, more of this flashy thing in your eyes, so that you click on the video and you watch more, and, it's taken like, ooh, it's so legitimate. Well, I do have to say this, is that from my perspective, and again, yours may differ, the fancier motions and the fancier cool tricks are nothing but the basics kind of stacked, if that makes any sense. The basics put into different order quickly together. So for example, you still have a basic, say, figure 8 spin, saber spin, let's say, and then maybe you do a whole bunch of other spins within that, or not necessarily within it, but like you kind of blend them all together and pass it at your back and throw it up in the air and turn your body and catch it. When people do all that fancy stuff, keep in mind that that's just literally taking a lot of basics and chaining them all together. So keep in mind that if you want to get super awesome skills, you still need to train the basics and stick with the things that are, essentially real, essentially the most efficient way of doing X or Y or Z, as opposed to the fancier style one. And that also really relates if you're talking about the difference between choreography and sparring, which I won't go into a big diatribe on that right now, but there is a reality of how moves really work in true time. And what I mean by that true time is like in real time, like no slow motion things. When people show you a move in slow motion and be like, so if he attacks me here, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then he's disarmed. Well, the problem is all that stuff happens in slow motion, and also oftentimes one person is making only one action while the other person is making 5 different actions in 5 units of time and all this. And again, I don't want to go on a big diatribe, but just keep in mind that what is realistic for swordplay in martial arts, or boxing, or whatever you want to call it, is not the same as choreography in films. That's not to disparage either. They both take a lot of work. Trust me on this. They both take a lot of work. If you want to learn how to be a fencer or do kendo, which would be, pretty much the closest to what we might say is real-time sparring with sword work. And of course there's other arts, but, that's entirely a different path than it is to get good with choreography and working on shows and essentially selling drama to an audience. And again, not disparaging either. Sometimes people will say, oh, choreography is so fake and that's stupid and pointless to follow. I don't know. Talk to Jackie Chan about that, and Jet Li and all these other superstars who, have both done real martial arts and then apply it in films. We all are entertained by these things, so it's important for us to understand that, you want to suit the action to the word and the word to the action. If you're doing sparring, you don't want gimmicks and flashy stuff. But if you're doing choreography, sometimes you want a little bit of that. That makes it interesting. You mix it up a little, and the audience tends to enjoy things in different ways. You don't go overboard with it, but at the same time, you want to have a lot of interesting things going on in your choreography. It makes it more fun. That's what it's about, entertainment for choreography. Okay, so that's good enough. Just about 10 minutes in here, so hope you guys enjoyed, and hope to see you in the next Saber session. peace out and have fun with your LED sabers. May the Force be with you.